Tempus's what-if modeling and scenario planning tool is fantastic for understanding the impact of any changes and plans, answering those what-if questions for your resources, your projects, and your financial forecasting. You can conduct your annual planning by prioritizing projects and sequencing the work based on resource availability. And you can also model changes to those projects, those resources, the portfolios, and even the financials mid-year. In this video, we're going to cover how to use a model, going through some of the basic use cases of modeling your projects, your resources, and then a separate video will be done on financials specifically. So, first, let's focus on the different areas of a model that you can configure to further define the view that you're seeing. First and foremost, up here, we have our chart options. So, if you are an organization that utilizes project milestones, I do recommend turning this on. And you will see here those milestones are going to display within the project Gantt. You can also choose to show the project name within the Gantt bar, and you can also choose to show the project end date within the Gantt bar. Um, Additionally, you can determine to have a resource efficiency coefficient. So really what this is kind of showing, it's very similar to planning out the productivity. For today's purpose, I am going to leave this at 100%, which is what is standard within the model. We can also group our projects by a specific project attribute. So, for example, if I was interested in understanding my projects by the portfolio that they're in, I would group by portfolio, and then I would be able to dig down into each portfolio, understanding the projects that are in each one, the duration of that portfolio overall. We can see here IT digital transformation ends in 2027, whereas our Keep the Lights On work, we've only planned that out to 2025, so on and so forth. I'm going to ungroup. We can also insert columns here to understand what's important to us. So in here, you may have a project size column that you want to choose, maybe a project priority column, just to help you get a better picture of the projects that are within your model. You can also apply filters based on the project name within the model. So if you were really looking for maybe our Laguna Phase 4 project, we could filter to that and just see that project within here. You can also change the duration of your model. This is going to, at most, be the duration of the model that you chose in its setup. So 5 years is what we chose for this model. We can take this down to 3 years and even 1 year if we would really like to. So that is going to be the different settings that are available in your project Gantt within the model. Now, let's walk through how to use the model when it comes to your projects specifically. So first and foremost, within your model, you can determine the ideal project start and end dates based on your resource availability. You can also change the duration of the projects as they exist in here. You can include and exclude projects. So maybe you're bringing a new project in, but you're excluding a few lower priority projects. You can also utilize the opportunity map that tells you roughly when the project should start based on your resource availability. And it'll show you, your best options there, or your options in general. So with that said, we are going to include our Canary Phase 3 project. This is now going to go down into the list, alphabetical order, and you can see that that project has been included. From here, I can click and drag this project, and as you can see, our resource cells down below are changing just a bit, and we'll get into a great view for that here soon. I can change the start and end date of this project. Maybe this is when I choose based on my resources availability, because I think that's a little bit better. You can also exclude projects as well. So if I wanted this project to be excluded, I could just say, we don't want this to impact our resources, allocation percentage, or availability. For whatever reason that is, we can exclude it. Um, we can also here link projects. So if you are not using the project dependency field that is within your project attributes, you could come in here in your model and link specific projects, maybe because you want to model out how that link would exist. So you can see here on our Canary Phase 3, we go down and we see the link with Laguna here. And because Laguna is a partial project, we had to bring that out just to be able to see that link. Additionally, we can split our projects. So if I say, Jonah Phase 11, this is a project that needs to be split for whatever reason, I can split the project, split it at a specific date, and then determine the second project's name. Additionally, I can look at the opportunity map. And like I mentioned before, this opportunity map is going to show you all of the options, the start date options that you have available based on your resources availability. The good news is for the resources who are assigned to this project, you have 7 different options where you are 91%, your resources are going to be 91% available. Now, one thing that may be new to you if you are a longtime Tempus user is the ability to model tasks. So if you are using custom tasks within Tempus, you can click into your project and you are going to see those specific task names in here. And just like almost anything else, you can click and drag the task within the duration of the project to say, this task is going to take a little bit longer. And maybe this task here, we are going to compress that work by 228 days, as you can see here in the purple or blue pop-up. All right. Now, additionally within here, you are going to have a grid view when it comes to your projects. And this grid view is going to function similar to the flat grid, but what it's going to allow you to do is look at the existing assignments for your resources who are on your project and change those assignments. So here we are looking at FTE. I can come down into a different project where we have both demand planning resources and named resources. And if I chose, I can change the allocation of Carlos on this specific task to whatever FTE I think that is. And that is just done by clicking the cell and typing in that FTE. Additionally, I can choose to replace Carlos. So if I come in here and say, all right, I would like to replace Carlos specifically in August 2023, I can choose to do so with specific resources based on the role that these resources are. And I can see availability and make that very educated, data-driven decision. All right, and now we are going to get into the resource grid down below. And the resource grid is really where you're going to see the impact of your projects, of this planned work on your resources to understand, can this work get done with the roles that I have? Where do we need to hire? Where do we have too many people? And can we upskill those people to exist on a different team as well? So first and foremost, I am going to revert all of the steps that I just took and start with a fresh model. And within here, I am going to just take a look at my aggregation level. I want to understand, it looks like these people, their capacity does not start in 2023, or maybe it ended before 2023, which is why they are 0%. That is very important to know. And within here, I click into my accounting team and I can see the allocation percentage at the roll-up level and the individual resource level. Now, what does this mean? This resource, Alexis, is almost 600% allocated in the month of January. That is an issue. Hopefully that was just a typo, but in the event that it was not, we can see, though, that the accounting role as a whole is 275% allocated. Where is this number coming from? Well, what the aggregation level is doing is it is comparing all allocation versus the capacity of the people and giving you that allocation number. So while in this month specifically, 3 out of your 4 resources are not over allocated, but you have one who is, the team overall, or that role overall, is 116% allocated. So that is what this grid is telling you here. Now, you have a few different views when it comes to your resources. First, we have the grid view where you can look at the specific numbers by time, cost, FTE. Right now, we are looking at net availability. So here, Alexis, not available, very much not available. Whereas Joshua has 0.16 FTE available. We can look at what that means in hours, and we can see here, Joshua has 40 hours available in this month, and Alexis is overallocated by 767 hours. We can look at, our deficits only. So here we're going to call out where there is an overallocation and a lack of ability. We can look at surplus only. So show me where I have resources who are available. I want to see that specifically. We can look at the allocation. So again, we're looking at time. This is the amount of hours that these resources are assigned either at the aggregate level or at the individual level in the month of January. And then we can also look at capacity. So if there's ever a question of, well, why is Stuart overallocated? You can get a quick view into Stuart's capacity right here as well. We're going to go to net availability and FTE. From here, you also have a graph view. And what this graph view is going to do is provide you a before and after compared to the capacity, specifically calling out where the allocation is over capacity. And this is going to be aggregated by the role. And you are not able to get down at that individual resource level here, which is intentional. This is meant to show you at that aggregation level, whatever makes sense for you, what is going on with your teams, your resources, your roles, your departments, your managers, whatever that is. Here we have the traditional heat map view. As you saw, we have a cool map view where the darker the blue, the more available the resource is, and a delta view. Now, this delta view is very, very powerful and something I want to make sure that you understand how to use. This delta view is going to show you the before and the after for the allocation percentage at your aggregate level and your individual person level for any changes that you make to your projects up here. So for example, I am going to choose Laguna Phase 4, and we are going to move the start and end dates of that project. And here, right away, we can see, and our grid shows us where those differences make sense or appear. So for example, in March, I actually reduced the overallocation of my creative team, January, February, March, and so on, by a significant percentage. So maybe this is a better start date for this team. Additionally, it looks like allocation percentages went down for all of the teams that had a change. So this could be a fantastic start and end date. We shifted it by 165 days for the team overall. Additionally, I want to maybe do some editing, some scenario planning of my ERP system infrastructure revision project. Now, where do those changes take place? These little circles over here are going to indicate a negative or a more impactful in potentially a negative way change, whereas the green circles are going to be indicative of a positive change. So you are using less of your people during that time frame. That is the information this is going to give you. This delta view is really where it is immediately calling out the changes, the impacts that it's going to have on your team. Now, one thing I want to mention as well is going to be this impact assessment view. So let's go back to our heat map here. And we're going to click on one of these cells. So our creative team overall, when I click into the October cell, it is showing me the projects that they are assigned to, what portfolio this project is in, what that FTE total is of that assignment, and then that utilization percentage. So based on the assignment, how much of that is going towards their utilization? This is a really powerful view when you're trying to understand, okay, you're telling me the team is overallocated. Where's that overallocation coming into play? And when you dig down into your people, you can see Brandon Hart here, 1,000% assigned to Laguna Phase 4. Probably a typo, a good way to call this out, but also not ideal if that is in fact true. Who else on the creative team can take this work on? One last scenario that you can plan for in Tempus is going to be a change in headcount. So when you click on that pencil icon at the aggregation level, you are going to see this screen here. And what this screen is doing is it is allowing you to increase the headcount for your creative team by either a specific number of resources. So maybe we hire 5 resources. I'm going to update my preview. We're hiring them within these 5 years here. And what this is going to do is show you the original versus what 5 new resources are going to do to your team's allocation. So for example, where Brandon Hart is 1,000% allocated, hiring 5 new people, your team is only going to be 36% allocated in the month of June. So that work can be spread around the team. You may determine, that's too much. What about 3? 50% allocated. Okay, we're getting better. On the same side of that, and let me go ahead and click out of this so that way I can show you a decrease. On the same side of that, we can also simulate what happens when a member of the team leaves. Now, this could be by a specific team member. So if Brandon were to leave, what does that do to the team? It overallocates them even more than they already are. So that's probably not a good option, or maybe we need to prioritize replacing Brandon. You could also determine, all right, well, what if I just need to reduce that headcount by a specific percentage? You could also do that here, and you could do it within a specific range. So maybe the team member is going on a sabbatical or some type of leave, and you need to understand what that leave is going to do to your team overall. Do you need to bring in a contractor to take on this work? What projects are going to be impacted? Tempus What-If is going to answer those questions for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our next video is going to cover modeling and running scenarios on your project financials. Make sure to tune into that one.